So welcome back. Now when we left you, things weren't looking good. The engine bay was completely stripped, looking sorry for itself. We had the block out. One of the pistons was heavily scored and that had damaged a bore. Two other bores didn't look good. It had to be rebored. So the engine's block is cleaned. It's been rebored, half a mil over. We've cleaned it, we've airlined it, we've checked every hole. So first thing to go back is the piston cooling jets. These are important because if these block up, piston overheats. So check they're clear. So airline through them and it's blowing out nicely. And then each one can go back in. So jet in. These originally had Loctite on, so we do that as well. Just a tiniest little dab. I'm going to use a little bit. It's just to stop the bolt from coming loose on its own. It's not for holding the whole engine together. Okay, so there's our first one. Check the next one. Next one goes in. Okay, so we got two more of them to do, and then on to the next bit. Next bit is the main bearing shells. Clean it, oil them up, pop them in, and then airline through all the oiling holes on the crankshaft. So that's ready to go in. So heavily oil all the journals, all the bearing faces. So when you put it together, it's spinning freely, and it's ready. Time to put the crankshaft in. Get the fluff off. And there it goes. Just check it spins freely. Oh, that's nice and smooth. That's good. So just checking. So blow air in here. Come over here. Blow air in here. That's good. We've got nice clean oil ways. Bolt holes. And then we've got each cap is marked. So there's an arrow going to the front of the block and a number. So it's 1 to 5 through the engine. We've already popped the shells back in. We're using the original main shells. Pollen in it. So just already. They're on, so we can wind those down. They're all just snug down. Check she still spins freely. Now we can get that torqued to spec. So it's time to put the pistons in. So we had to skip this. Sorry, the batteries went flat, but the pistons are in now. The big ends are all obviously new bearings, all oiled up the same as you've seen. They're all torqued to spec. So it's all looking good. The bores are good. Head gasket time. Only goes in one way. You know in these gaskets, they've got little indicators to show the thickness. This was a 2-hole gasket. If you're not having the head skimmed, obviously put the same back. If not, speak to the company that's skimming your head, find out what they recommend. Pop a couple of bolts through the head. That just helps line it up quicker, so you don't risk scratching up the head on the locating dowels. You can see by looking over there, as my big fat head's in the way, you can just locate the head bolts in the holes, and it sits the head down flush. Don't do them up yet. Just make sure they all drop down the equal amount. You know that it's all sat down. Obviously, you've blown out the bolt holes to make sure there's no oil stuck at the bottom. Head's now torqued down. Cam shafts are in, cam carriers in. Again, same procedures, lifts in, clean it up, torque it up properly. Nothing complicated there. What we do now is we're going to turn the engine upside down. So this is the top of the engine. We're going to turn it upside down because there's a crankshaft at the top, there's the cams at the bottom. First things, locate a timing tool onto the end of the crankshaft. Didn't fit particularly well, but it helps you know where it's meant to be timed. Put the bolt in. And then on the flywheel here, we have one different tooth. So you've got to find that and turn it round to that sensor hole. Just use a bar on a bolt and just turn the flywheel slowly until that locating hole lines up with your locating pin. So the flywheel's lined up. There's a different tooth. I had to modify the tool. It's because of a cheap tiny set. So the thicker bit is perfect for going in the sensor hole. No play at all, good fit. But the end's too big to fit in the flywheel. But this end, which had the handle on it, is perfect. So I've just cut it so it locks in the flywheel, locks it nicely, and fits in there. Now with that lined up perfectly, as you see, pulley end isn't lined up perfectly. I assume it's just these cheap Chinese tools, but either way, that mark on the flywheel lining up with that sensor hole is the correct mark. So I trust Ford's production of this flywheel more than I do the Chinese production of a tool. That's welded just slightly different position, a slight bend is going to be that far off, but these are the marks to trust. So that tool will go in there, and if I had the engine up the right way, that would stay in there. So the camshafts, these pulleys are on loose. The timing pins are in, so they go through the back, through the camshaft basically, into locating holes, which would be on the bottom if the engine was up the correct way. Okay, so they're ready for the chain to be wrapped round. So that's our guides in place. So just running from the top, we've got our oil pump with our pickup. It's all been cleaned. That runs on its own chain and has its own little tensioner, which just has a little spring. So that's all sorted, and that's nice and tight. Good chain there. New guide. This one bolts on. You can't get it the wrong way around or upside down. Only goes one way. This one is the one for the tensioner and just locates on a pin. So it just comes on and off. So that's ready to go. And we've got our top one there. Our cam pulleys are ready to go. Everything's lined up. We've got the crank in the correct position, so it's time to wrap our chain round. Okay, so the chain's on. So around here we're tight on this side. As we come round, we just pull that wheel. It should be, if your chain's good and everything's lined up right, it should be in the middle of that slot. See, just in the middle. And then as we come across here, we keep it tight. We should be in the middle of the slot. Then all the slack should be on this side, which gets taken up by this pulley here. So if that's how it is, then you're good. So it's time to check our marks. So we're okay there. We've got our, if you look, we've got our arrow with the black link. We've got our arrow with the black link. We're in the middle of these slots, which is good news. It means everything's to spec. Tensioner comes round, we're wrapping round, we're sat in the teeth all right, we're round there, tensioner's tightened on, and we're just checking that our marks haven't moved. So my pin keeps falling out. Well, there you go. So we're still in the right mark there. So we are all good. So it's time to get the tensioner on. Brand new tensioner. Now as they wear, I'll show you the old one, as the chain wears and stretches, the tensioner just comes out further and further and further. Now this engine didn't have any wear at all on the chain. In fact, I've got one of the guides here, look. It's just absolute minimal wear despite being 157,000 miles. So remarkable really. There's the chain, the guides. Okay, tensioner's on. Just ready to take the slack. So we're going to hold that against the tensioner and pull the pin out. So I'm going to do that without holding the camera preferably, just to make sure it doesn't slam out and break anything. We don't want that. Good. So it's popped out a little bit. That's bitting on that now, and now we've got no slack in the chain. That's tight. That's good. And it's pulled the chain tight around these, which bear in mind are still loose, and it's kept them in the middle here. So once we've checked that our crankshaft has not moved because that pin keeps falling out, we can then tighten up the cams, these 3 bolts, those 3 bolts, and job done. It's timed. Okay, so the cam pulleys are tightened up, the tools are removed. I've just popped a couple of bolts in now, and just using a bar, we're going to spin the engine over, give it a good few rotations, just to check that everything is free and we're not getting any valve bind. So I've done 2 full rotations of the engine, possibly more. We've stopped it back at where the timing tool fits in perfectly. There it is. And now that that's lined up, we're going to check our cams. And it is lined up with the holes behind. There it is. And the other one. There it is. You see through the round hole behind. Our pointers are down here. Obviously we've lost the black link now because that will be a different point around the chain. So that's it. Timing's done. It's ready to be closed up. So the engine all blown off, cleaned up, gasket surface all clean, cleaned the sump, cleaned up very well actually, inside and out, because hey, we might as well. Also make sure the oil drain plug came out now while it's off. So this just gets silicone on, RTV'd on. These engines do have an issue where there's so much RTV holding the engine together. If you use too much, it ends up bits of it go in the oil pump, blocks up the piston cooling jets, and that's caused a fair few failures. So just be very sparing with the silicone used. Keep it on the outer edge if you can. This is a very thin bead of silicone just laid around the outside of all the bolt holes. We'll lay the pan on, and then as I put the bolts in, I just put a bit of silicone around the outer face just so the bolts are sealed. Our pan is ready to go on. So unfortunately now the batteries went flat on the camera, but the engine's in the engine bay. It's bolted onto the gearbox. I'll carry on putting a few bits back together. Come back in the next episode, give us a few days, get it edited up, and let's see if this thing runs. But at least the engine's back where it belongs. Please subscribe, stay tuned, see you on the next one.